it was Father's Day, and he wanted to go along because his idiot billionaire father wanted to do it, and he felt pressured to go because it was Father's Day. And a bunch of people on Twitter were like, oh, wait, now this looks really dark because we know at least one person on the submersible was innocent. Yeah? You just like assumed the 4 passengers were evil? Like just out of nothing. Like no prior info, just like leapt into that. That was the thing that really got me. The idea that people were so, I will still make jokes. You should still make jokes, because if you were making jokes under the assumption that every person on there was evil without knowing them, then you're an idiot. Your joke should have been on the broader hubris and dark comedy of the situation, not on the assumption that everyone there was evil. It's like, oh, there was a 19-year-old there. This is tragic now. It was always tragic. What do you mean? People died. Were you psychopaths? Okay, if you've been paying attention at all to any kind of social media or just media broadly for the past 72 hours, you've heard about the Titan submersible, because it did not meet the requirements to be called a submarine. Okay, thank you. The Titan submersible. Pictured here, for $250,000, you too can purchase a ticket to go down to see the Titanic through this little window right here. Now, you might notice some problems right off the bat. So one of the problems that you might notice is that this looks like, and the Titanic is very deep down. That's a big problem right off the bat, you know? Really kind of an engineering hurdle that you have to overcome. Show the inside. Oh, please. Yes, please. Yeah, here we go. Thank you. Right. Here's the inside. Not artist rendition. It's a real photo of the inside. Thank you. I do love the iron lung obsession. Like the idea of all references to a submarine goes too deep are now folded into this one 1-year-old indie game that Markiplier is making a movie out of. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, is that really it? Are there no other media references? It's literally all just Iron Lung. Iron Lung is a good game. Play it. It's fine. I watched Markiplier play it. You know what? I'm not even going to be a yum yucker. All right? I'm glad that it's captured the imaginations of so many people. So here's the problem, folks. There were 6 people in the sub. It's 5 plus the CEO, who was actually, or not the CEO, the person who was piloting the sub. The person who was piloting the sub was the CEO, right? He was the one who went down, right? Oh, it was 4 plus CEO. Okay, yeah, 4 plus CEO. So CEO plus 4 people who paid a ticket. 4 times $250,000 is $1 million. This is $1 million ride. And they head on down. And then, whoa, contact is cut. What happened to this little submersible? Well, here's the thing, folks. We can actually kind of figure out what's going on in the ocean, you know, using magical technology called listening really good in the water. It's called sonar. And sonar tech's gotten pretty good. Like really, 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 really good. We kind of know what's going on all over the world. We figure something's gone wrong here, okay? So they're not coming back up. They're not contacting. What's going on? Well, the timer sets off instantly. Everyone starts worrying about the submersible. It's a lot like, it's like a balloon boy situation, you know? Oh my God, everyone, they only have this much oxygen left. 72 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours. And then yesterday, they finally ran out of the predicted amount of oxygen their vessel would have, and they all suffocated to death. Except obviously that's not what really happened. If there's a problem with a submersible that goes that deep, it just imploded. They didn't even feel anything. Nobody ran out of oxygen down there. Or well, I guess they did, but they ran out of oxygen extremely quickly and very suddenly. They didn't feel anything. They popped inwards. Their entire body was crunched down to the size of the small beans with anxiety that you all are in spirit. Yeah, they died instantly. But I don't really care about the details of their death. There's a lot of really funny, stupid tabloid shit adjacent to the story of their death. Like, for instance, one of the people on the boat was a billionaire, because billionaires are soulless reptiles that will pay any amount of money to feel something again, hence taking a rickety submersible down to the Titanic. This stepson has been subject of a lot of attention. They went to a Blink-182 concert, you know, life sucks, I know. Then defended the decision to go to the concert on social media. Then they, like, paid an OnlyFans model to sit on their face. I don't know. They've been living the life, and people have been getting shit for it, and frankly, I'm sick of it. I don't know. There's a whole thing. I don't care. Have fun arguing with Cardi B on social media. I don't know. I don't care. The actual business, the actual, like, company, the actual, like, company that was managing the submersible was laughably incapable of withstanding the extreme pressures down at the depth of the Titanic. The Titanic is thousands of meters down from sea level. The pressure down there will kill a human instantly. They will, it is inhospitable to life. I mean, structures that go down that far, like, need to be designed with the highest standards of human engineering, which we are capable of doing, and this machine was certainly not. Oh, apparently here's what the inside looked like. Jesus Christ. Imagine being a billionaire and sitting for any reason, for any length of time, in a configuration this small. It looks like a little spermie. What is this? The company was based out of Washington State, by the way. Woo! Washington Pride. Yeah, that's the best way of describing what happens to a human body when subjected to oceanic pressures that high. You stop being biology and you start being physics. Analyzing what happens to your body at that depth is no longer in the purview of biology. It is a chemical or physical process. So the question as to whether or not they suffered, it's not, you stole that from XKCD. I actually stole that from a person in chat who just stole that from XKCD. So, you know, thank you. They'll do anything to avoid public transit, yet pay insane sums to sit in a cramped submarine. It's about exclusivity. They wouldn't have gone if the tickets were cheap. Actual photo of the inside. Is this another Iron Lung reference? No, it's not. It's an actual photo of the inside. Wow, this looks like shit. I don't even have anything else to say. This just looks like a terrible time. So I guess they're facing the back end of the thing, and you all just sit crisscross applesauce in here, and then the window would be behind where the camera is, and you just look out there. Cool. Well, what matters is that they had a good time until they didn't. Oh, right. Critical bit of info here. Thank you. The sub is piloted with a game controller. That's not a joke. Apparently, at one point in the recent past, there was a problem with the installation of the propellers. One of the propellers was installed like backwards so that it would propel water forward rather than back, meaning that the sub would just spin in place. And rather than fix that problem, they just held the controller at a 90-degree angle and piloted it that way. And they survived that trip. That wasn't the trip that they died on. They made it back from that. And presumably they fixed the propeller. And now there you go. There's the game controller. To be fair, sometimes military equipment also uses gaming controller. Yeah, but something tells me they use proprietary game controllers and not like Logitech $20 off Amazon. Look. I'm not an expert on how to build a death trap that implodes 3,000 meters under the sea or whatever. That's not my field of expertise. I will not pretend to know more than I do. The CEO was a real explorer and had gone down 50 plus times. Had even gone to the Mariana Trench, and he died just going on a risky Father's Day trip with two shitty billionaires, Lamau. Hey, well, that's the game you play when you're an explorer, right? When's the well, there's your problem episode in this coming out? Soon, I imagine, and it's good. It's going to be good. Now, please. Vosh, it's a wireless Bluetooth game controller. Yes, the decision to control your submersible with a wireless controller is hilarious. That's fantastic. I love that. Okay? Don't let these Luddites drag you back from the future, okay? You're marching onward. Why would you ever use a wired controller 3,000 meters beneath the sea when you could use Bluetooth? I agree completely. Now, let's focus up, people. Come on. Every element of this story is extremely funny, What's even funnier is knowing for an absolute fact that we have like media attention on this guy, but there are literally thousands of identical grifts all around the world of billionaires or wealthy or powerful people being like cajoled by some lunatic who's climbed Everest 7 times saying like, yeah, man, this works, and doing some insane daredevil shit that will eventually lead to somebody dying or at least getting seriously injured. But for now, we don't know about it because it's one of those, if you don't know how much the ticket costs, then you can't afford it kind of deals. So they died. Now, there was some ambiguity initially as to whether or not there was an implosion or whether or not the millions and millions of dollars that were spent on search and rescue after they went dark were warranted. There were some people who actually knew for a fact that they had imploded to begin with. So, funnily enough, one of them was James Cameron. See, James Cameron, that's the guy who, apologies for the noise, made the Titanic movie, actually owns a company that has a lot of proprietary and highly advanced sonar tech. See, because he's visited the Titanic a bunch because he was doing research for the movie. He boasted that he had actually spent more time on the Titanic than the captain of the Titanic had because he'd visited it like 50 times or something. So he actually has... like, he owns tech that does sonar and monitors stuff around the Titanic, and he knew that it was an implosion because his tech was capable of detecting the difference between just noise and that noise. Yeah, he's like a field expert on this subject. And he did an interview where he described it as an implosion before it was announced as an implosion, but the interview was only released after it was known. So he already knew. Another group of people who already knew was the U.S. Navy. This is another one of those we have technology you could not possibly perceive kind of deals, because the sonar equipment of the U.S. Navy is obviously the most advanced in the world, and they knew that it was an implosion because they can hear everything. If you have ever taken a leak into the ocean, they knew who you were because they could tell from the DNA particles. They could tell how hydrated you were. They know everything about you. This is not advanced tech, Vosh? Yes, it is. Sonar is not advanced tech. This kind of sonar is, because the reason the Navy did not immediately make it known that they knew it was an implosion was because it would have given away the advanced nature of their sonar technology. It's like the photo of the Iranian rocket launch site that Trump tweeted, despite being told not to. The fact that we could see that photo that clearly revealed information about our satellite network. And likewise, the fact that we immediately knew it was an implosion revealed information about our sonar network. Same deal. Now, of course, this is all known and out in the public. There are some people who are outraged that it was not made immediately clear that it was an implosion. Whatever. I haven't even gotten to the part I want to talk about yet. I haven't even gotten to this. Which is Twitter discourse. Okay, so immediately, right, a bunch of people took to Twitter and started making jokes at the expense of the extremely wealthy passengers aboard this submersible. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear, okay? I do not mind dark jokes about people dying, innocent or otherwise. Everyone makes 9/11 jokes. Everyone makes jokes to this effect. Finding humor in unfortunate or tragic situations is like a universal human thing. It's not a weird thing to do. Making dark jokes about people dying, this happens all the time everywhere. Every political ideology does this. It's so unbelievably mundane and consistently observed that I don't even feel a need to defend it because we all do it. Here's the issue, okay? And I probably should have gotten together a bunch of tweets so I could point these out, but I'd rather just talk in the abstract, okay? Because you all know this happens. A bunch of people, lefties, immediately started to make this out like it was part of some kind of broader class warfare scheme, like it was praxis. Now, as a concept, I find it funny the idea of a bunch of billionaires paying a lot of money, like years of people's rent, in order to enter a death trap and die at the bottom of the sea. It's classically funny. It's like a hubris thing, you know, like the heat of the sun melted the wax on Icarus's wings. The same thing will happen when they inevitably start like going on rockets to go to Mars, and the SpaceX rockets explode in orbit or something. Like it'll be like that, right? It's like that. It's funny conceptually. Now, a lot of people don't like jokes about dead or dying people, so they were like, this is kind of psychotic of you. I don't think it's psychotic to make jokes like that. Then people did stuff that I do think is psychotic, which was to earnestly, morally defend the death of the people aboard there, without knowing who was actually aboard the submersible. See, there's a huge difference between making, like, blasé, irreverent jokes about the death of people in a comedic situation because it seems like hubris led them to their graves, and earnestly defending the ethics of their death. Those are two very different things. Bruh, I've made lots of 9/11 jokes. I would never, like, unironically argue that, like, just because you happen to be in the World Trade Center, innocent people, thousands of innocent people died in 9/11. In like really horrible ways. Like all you have to do is read up on like the real stories of 9/11 or whatever, of the fact that like there were people who like ran downstairs, like 40 flights of stairs down, only to meet firefighters at the ground floor of the towers who said, no, the safest thing you can do is to go back up and stay up there. And some people, just regular people, were like, oh, well, they're firefighters. So like, what do I know about dealing with a situation like this? Okay. And they went back up to their death. They could have lived if they'd walked out the lobby doors, but no, there's a lot of stuff like that. See, instantly it's like, oh, wow, wait, that actually like really sucks. That happened? Yes. Why'd they lie? They weren't lying. Nobody knew what plane hitting Twin Tower meant. Nobody knew it would collapse. Nobody had any idea how it was going to play out. They thought that if they kept people up there, it would prevent the bottom floors from getting stalled with a bunch of people trying to get out. They didn't want to like clog the main doors as firefighters went in. They thought the rescue effort would be people going in and up to rescue and pull people down from the damaged floors. They did not anticipate a collapse. Look, not to get sidetracked, okay? These stories are actually full of unimaginable suffering, which is why, again, I think there's an earnest distinction one must maintain between making jokes, which is, again, universal, and actually justifying it. People on Twitter started actually justifying it. And the reason they started actually justifying it was because the people on the the submersible, were wealthy. Now, I'm not even going to get into like the whole like ethics of eat the rich. I will say one thing, and this is like an objective statement. So if you disagree with me on this, you disagree with Marx. And I'm serious here when I'm paraphrasing Marx, okay? Violence and death and misfortune befalling the wealthy is not praxis unless it is part of some kind of coordinated class war in the seizure of a proletarian state. I think this is like really obvious, right? Like if like a billionaire like dying randomly does not in any way advance the socialist agenda. Now, if the billionaire is orchestrating some kind of like despotic political coup to protect capital and slaughter proletariat revolution, you know, that kind of crap, then sure, because the lines have been drawn. But people are acting like because you're wealthy or poor, you've already taken sides on some kind of Maginot line or whatever, where the everything is clear and distinct. And this is not how it works. This is a child's version of like class war politics. This is a child's version of Marxism. It's not real. This is fake. This is a joke. You don't understand politics. Come on. If you want to make jokes, make jokes. I've made the jokes. I made the jokes on Twitter. I don't care. Stop pretending it's praxis. Just acknowledge that you're making jokes. Stop pretending that making these jokes is some kind of political activism. Stop pretending that people who don't want to make jokes like that are somehow counter-revolutionary or who are like anti-proletarian. I saw people saying that, by the way. I saw people saying like, oh yeah, well, you're not comfortable with these jokes about these dead people? Well, if you're not comfortable with misfortune befalling the wealthy, then I guess you're just okay with the current status quo. Blah, blah, blah. These are 14-year-olds. This is not real politics. This is not real. It's fake. You live in the Matrix. Andrew Tate was right broadly, but not on the specifics. We are in the Matrix. Okay? Right. Fake and gay. Thank you. Now, to cap off how stupid this discussion was, it was then revealed that one of the people who died was actually the 19-year-old son of a billionaire. He did not want to go into the submersible. It was Father's Day, and he wanted to go along because his idiot billionaire father wanted to do it, and he felt pressured to go because it was Father's Day. And a bunch of people on Twitter were like, oh, wait, now this looks really dark because we know at least one person on the submersible was innocent. Yeah? No shit? What? That's new? You just like assumed the 4 passengers were evil? Like just out of nothing. Like no prior info. Just like leapt into that. That was the thing that really got me. The idea that people were so, I will still make jokes. You should still make jokes. Because if you were making jokes under the assumption that every person on there was evil without knowing them, then you're an idiot. Your joke should have been on the broader hubris and dark comedy of the situation, not on the assumption that everyone there was evil. People make 9/11 jokes. I don't think every fucking 3,000 people who died were evil. The arrogance of people like this, it's insane. I can't even describe how frustrated I am by it. This changes nothing. It's like, oh, there was a 19-year-old there. This is tragic now. It was always tragic. What do you mean? People died. Were you psychopaths? They weren't part of the fucking bourgeoisie vanguard. They weren't. This wasn't a Death Star laser pointed at the concept of class liberation. They were just guys. This wasn't a politicized situation. They weren't on the opposite line. If you're going to make jokes about the hubris, then make jokes about the hubris. Don't do so deluding yourself into believing that you're like comedically framing some kind of broader attack on the bourgeois. Jesus Christ. You're just wrong here, Vosh. That's okay. I'll give you 30 days to think it over. I don't care. No, I don't care. You're children. You're literally infants. You're 5. All the rest of you who disagree with me are 5. You're not serious leftists. You don't believe in anything. This is all lunch table politics to you people. Marx wrote on this. Marxism is not rich people / bourgeoisie bad, poor people / proletariat good. This is the exact same misinterpretation of Marxism that Jordan Peterson brought up. This is the same straw man that he brought up when he was arguing with Slavoj Žižek. That's the exact same thing. He was framing as like, oh, well, Marxism is when you believe that the poor, the proletariat are good people and the wealthy are evil. No. Read Marx. Marx made it clear. There are plenty of wealthy people who are born powerful and complacent who, because of the net cast by their own political class, will never understand the extent to which they have the power to make the world a better place. They are trapped by the same ideology as the rest of us. And there are plenty of poor people who, if given even a slight bit of power or the ability to fuck over their common proletariat, would immediately do so. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Yep, I saw Django. Thank you. There you go. Yeah, real class analysis. Vosh, your argument works for multimillionaires, not billionaires. No, it just works. No, there's nothing that you can find in Marx where it's like, oh, well, the bourgeois are trapped by the same ideology of their classes we all are. Many of them live hollow lives, desperate to fulfill the standards set by them by their forefathers. Oh, unless they're billionaires. No, stop. Stop looking for excuses to simplify ethics. You're not going to find any, okay? Life is complicated. You can't... Ooh, what? Is it that difficult to structure your arguments with like a proper understanding of class distinctions as opposed to this hyper-essentialist obsession with believing that tripping over a certain income flag instantly makes you a good or a bad person? It doesn't. It does not. Engels was a wealthy man. If Engels had been a billionaire and had funded Marx's endeavors, would that have made him automatically evil? What if there was an incredibly wealthy man who was who was complacent and ideologically disaffected, but had a sincere and passionate love for the people around him, and in so doing gave money to grants or like you say, well, how often does that happen? And the answer is not very often, not very often at all. But you can arrive at these moral conclusions with like a proper analytical through line. You don't have to jump the step. You don't just go, oh, rich, bad, poor, good. What you can instead go is, was this like uber wealthy people submersible trip full of bad people? Well, yeah, because billionaires tend to be bad people. And it's very funny. The circumstances of their death are funny. It's hubris. It's funny. You can say that it's fine. Just stop pretending that you're doing like some kind of radical class politics by doing so. Yeah, there's been a spike in sales for Iron Lung. You know, I didn't realize that David Zemansky was the person who made Iron Lung. I knew he made Dusk. This guy makes so many fucking games. I didn't like Chop Goblins that much. Dusk is like a legit like masterpiece. Iron Lung is like a cool concept game. I made fun of it because Bipolar Kitten, you can make fun of it however you want to. It's fine to make fun. I just don't like how unhinged people are. Making ironic, satirical jokes is not like class warfare. In fact, if anything, I would say that training yourself to make wry, facetious humor about misfortune which befalls the wealthy is a form of complacency. Because it leads you people to think you're satisfied by this. Oh, you know, the arc of the universe may be long, but it bends towards justice. I know this because while 57 anti-union laws may have passed this year, we also got several amusing stories of billionaires falling down a staircase and dying. So, you know, overall, kind of bending towards that. Well, no, that's complacency. Nothing meaningful has been done on your part. There's no class warfare, only class slaughter. You lose on every front, but then you delude yourself with the belief that you're participating in some kind of radical class politics by making jokes. You're so lazy. Stop pretending this is politics, okay? Just make the jokes. I made the jokes. That's fine. Just stop Stop blarping. Stop. This is like the fucking Chapo Trap House pipeline, where you go from caring about politics to caring about proving to other people you don't care about politics anymore. And the result of this is like, this is like the fucking podcaster pipeline, man. Every lefty podcast eventually falls down this road. Miss Dixie, you're still doing it. You're still trying to justify the jokes to me. You don't have to. It's fine. Make jokes. Yeah, Nikki Bugs, I will also admit that, like, besides the broader, like, this is fake class politics thing, it probably doesn't make the left look that good that there were a bunch of 14-year-olds with, like ML in their bio that are, like, fucking drooling and seething and feral with rage. And like ultra super duper fucking hyped up for you know, like people dying, and their actual argument just seems to be, well, the people who died were rich, so that's good, and like that's not class politics. That's not real class politics. So you're kind of like representing the ideology poorly. How rich do you have to be before you're evil? All the money. Being rich doesn't make you evil. Being rich means that you occupy a class position which disposes you favorably towards the ruling ideology, capitalist ideology. Wealthy and poor people believe in the same ideology because in Marxist literature, the ruling ideology is the ideology of the people, of all people. Bourgeois capitalist liberal ideology, which reigns supreme in this country, at least for now, dictates many things that are detrimental to the working class and beneficial to the owning class. But that does not mean that people in the beneficiaries class are any more aware of the systems they belong to. This is a classical mistake that people make when it comes to analyzing white supremacy and patriarchy. Men are no more likely to understand the mechanisms by which patriarchy operates, and white people are no more likely to understand the mechanisms by which white supremacy operates. In fact, oftentimes the opposite is the case, because a critical analysis of these systems is usually seen as the purview of the oppressed, not of the oppressor. It thus follows that oftentimes wealthy people are the least aware of the systems they exist within. They may defend their own class interests in the way they vote and the way they operate politically, and they do, But that doesn't mean they do so knowingly. It doesn't mean they do so with any greater awareness. They don't do so with some kind of Machiavellian investment in the grand game, the way it all plays out. They just follow the line. And a lot of them are so wealthy and so complacent that they'll never even think to question the systems that they are unknowingly allegiant to. It's the case with men, with white people, with all of this. I mean, think of it this way. Cisgender people certainly benefit more from the hegemonic standards that we have concerning gender. Do cis people understand gender better than trans people? Like, cisgender people, are they transphobic because they have some kind of like a broad, like chess master understanding of how this all plays out? No. No, they're dumb. No. No, no, no. That's how ideology works. You don't need to be an active, understanding proponent of it in order to replicate it. Likewise, it is the case with wealthy people. So you need to do at least one or two extra analytical steps if you're trying to make an actual ethical argument for the suffering of wealthy people. You can't just go, haha, wealthy people suffering, that's praxis, because that's lazy and untrue and doesn't actually materially advance the interests of the working class. No poor person's life has been made better by way of this submersible accident. That's just not how it works. Life is slightly more complicated than that.